there were always these little deals and stuff that were being made, and we would do what we would call live shots, live reports from there. So we had a little podium set up, a little stage, and we would interview guests, and this would go out on the National Sports Report on Fox. And one day we were doing it, and the big news of the day was with Todd Zeal. And Kevin Kennedy was up. We had him on live, and he was talking about the deal. And we said that he was about to sign with the Rangers. We had heard that as where he was going to land. And as I was standing there, Yankees broadcaster Susan Waldman came running up to me, and she's like, she goes, Steve, Todd is actually in the Mets hotel room right now. He's going to sign with the Mets. So Kevin had just finished. He comes down off our little stage, and I said, hey, he's going to sign with the Mets. So we immediately contacted our producers. They said, get back up there. So literally Kevin got back up on the stage and said, we just got word that he is, in fact, in the Mets hotel room about to sign a deal. About 5 minutes later, I look in the back, and I see the Mets PR guy, Jay Horowitz, walking around, and he's with Todd Zeal. So I went up to Jay and I said, hey, can we get Todd to come up on the stage and just talk about the deal? No problem. So a couple minutes later, Kevin's up on stage, Todd's up there with him, does an interview, and that was the night. And I've always said that within 20 minutes, we had Todd Zeal on the Rangers, on the Mets, and on Fox Sports Tonight.
That's pretty wild. Yeah, like the kind of thing that can only happen on live TV, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And the funny thing too is like that's the kind of stuff that people don't always know about when you're talking about live TV, and especially in the entertainment world, especially with sports. The stuff that goes on behind the scenes and kind of the craziness and the almost sheer chaos that must go on while they're out there, very calm, talking, to the camera, right. And there's all this frenzied activity going on as people are trying to figure out, where's he going? What are we doing? Trying to change, the story's changing literally minute by minute. So that's kind of a cool little, insight to what must, go on behind the scenes when they're on MLB Network or Fox or ESPN or any of these shows, and they're talking about trades or other things that could be, changing at any time.
Absolutely. The words breaking news are,
right.
It's the hardest and most fun thing you can do. I mean, your heart is racing, and it's just, it's really cool.
Yeah, I bet. So as you can see, while you were talking, I tried to see if anyone would want Ryan Howard, and no one wants him. That's not a shock. So I got no trade offers for Ryan Howard. But as I'd mentioned, the owners and the owner goals, and then we've got changes with the coaches as well. So you can see Bob McClure, the Phillies pitching coach. He's good with finesse pitchers. Steve Henderson's kind of a power hitter kind of guy. Team trainer Scott Sheridan. So this is kind of a new thing here. So they have attributes now and focus for certain things, and so you may want to change your pitching coach or your batting coach depending on how your team is set up, and they have certain preferences. And I know you had kind of another story to talk about that kind of fits into that.
Yeah, one of the things I did when I first started at Fox is I used to do a segment. It was called the Fox Scope. And that's where I really worked closely with Kevin and guys like Steve Sachs and Steve Lyons. And, we would take plays and we would break down these individual plays or whatever, or players or whatever they wanted to talk about. And, if there was a situation in a game, we would really break it down. And, we had our own little segment of the show. We did hundreds of these things. So we would do little shadows, put little shadows on pitchers to show their arm angles. And, I remember doing one time and Jarrett Wright was pitching, and Jarrett would throw the ball, and the way he landed, he kind of threw completely across his body. And I just remember Kevin saying to me, this guy's going to get hurt. because of the way his mechanics are. Sure enough, middle of the season, he was hurt, and he spent most of his career hurt. He could never fix that. And, so it was a really cool segment. And, in fact, I remember one time at spring training, Billy Beane was walking around. We were at the A's camp, and his wife, and they were together walking by, and his wife actually made a point to come up to us and say, she said, "I absolutely love the Fox scopes." And, we got a great smile out of that. So, and of course, we all know about Billy Beane and the whole Moneyball and everything. And, just another quick Billy Beane story. I had an opportunity one time, we sat in his office and just talking about his philosophy. And Moneyball wasn't the big thing at the time. It wasn't what it is now, where everybody uses it as a term. And he was talking about how they had signed John Jaha. And Jaha had been a big power hitter, but it really struggled, had injury issues and everything. And Billy talked about how he got him cheap. He had a chance to get this guy cheap. And, as we know, that's what he kind of, made his living on, getting these guys. And, Jaha was coming off a tough year. And the year he got, the year he ended up getting him, his last full season, he had walked 80 times. Moneyball's all about the walking. So Jaha comes over to Oakland cheap, he ended up walking like 100 times. He hit 30 home runs that year, and then ended up getting more money moving forward. Sort of that whole Moneyball philosophy. So, it was interesting. And, and then a side note, the Moneyball wasn't in full effect. Jason Giambi was still on the team, and we knew that because his big purple and yellow Ferrari was parked outside of the camp.
Right.
So,
right. Yeah, that's a really interesting story. It kind of ties into the whole Billy Beane, the Moneyball thing, and it's something I know people always try to kind of replicate in out of the park baseball if they can. And one thing I was looking at while you were talking, you notice here when you've got commissioner mode on, when you look at a guy here, Steve Henderson, Hendu, the Phillies hitting coach, and you can see all his tendencies here, and you can edit them just like you can edit so many other things. So there's a lot more you can do now with coaches and managers in the game as far as how they'll all mesh together and mesh with your team. I do remember seeing some comments on Twitter about bench coaches and how someone was saying his bench coach was asking him to sign kind of bring kind of a prankster into the locker room to help kind of lighten things up, which was funny. Mm-hmm. And all this ties also into the new strategy screen, how we've got that set up. And I'm the manager, so I can set the full strategy. I can ask Larry Boa, Mr. Hothead, for his thoughts on strategy if I want. And we've kind of got a new way of setting it up. So we've got this, before there was a lot of clicking and stuff that you had to do to set strategies for teams. And now it's really easy to just set your strategy for a certain time of the game, and then by a certain score, it was close game, ninth inning, and kind of change things here. You can copy it and then paste it into another situation if you want. And a cool thing we put here that really hasn't been talked about a whole lot is kind of these presets. So if you're kind of a small ball person, you want to apply that, boom, there you go. You've got kind of a small ball philosophy that's set up for all the different situations. And let's see what happens. Oh, here's Larry's. Here's what Larry wants. So you can actually export a strategy and then import it. So you can set up a strategy if you want, and then export it, and then set up another game. And basically, if there's a kind of a strategy you always want to use, you can always kind of have it there at all times to load into each game. And I know we were talking before, Steve, about strategy, and about you were replaying the 95, 96 seasons as the Red Sox, using those actual lineups and kind of comparing to what Kevin Kennedy did those seasons. What you want to talk about that a bit?
Yeah, I mean, just imagine. Just imagine being able to do the game, playing, that actual lineups, actual transactions, rosters, and all that, play a game, and then be able to call up the guy who was actually the manager of that game, in real life, and say, "Hey, guess what I did?" And I mean, I started that back in the Strat days, and then moved it over to Out of the Park, and it was so much fun. I mean, obviously 162 games, it gets a little tedious, but I would play these games, and then I would call Kevin and say, "Hey, guess what? Here's what I did. In this situation, I decided to bring in this reliever. Would you have done the same?" And it's so cool to have him say, "Hey, I would have done this, or I wouldn't have brought him in because I know this guy was a better matchup against that particular hitter." So, it was really cool to be able to kind of bounce that off them. I'd bring them the box scores of the different games. We'd have fun with that. And, it was really cool to be able to go through something like that. And, but my only caveat was I had to have the same lineup he had. And I do remember I did try to cheat a little bit. Kevin had told me about how he wanted to make Tom Gordon his closer in '96. They got off to a bad start and actually made a comeback, and he wanted Gordon to be his closer. And for whatever reason, he wasn't given the opportunity to make that move. He was basically being paid to be a starter, so he was left in as a starter. And in '96, Gordon had a generic record. He was 12-9. His ERA was over 5.5. And in '97, the Red Sox actually made Gordon the closer, and he became an incredible closer. 1 year he led the league with 46 saves. So I really wanted to do that in the game, but because of the rules, Kevin wouldn't let me do it. So I was stuck with Heathcliff Slocum as my closer.
Right, that ill-fated trade.
Exactly.
Or that was before the ill-fated trade.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry. Yeah, before they got rid of him and had Lowe and Veritek in. So how'd you do compared to how Kevin did?
There was a couple of times I did it. I did well. I was there. He was better than me. I got to admit it. He was better than me.
That's why he got the big bucks, huh?
Exactly.
So while you were talking, I was kind of looking at the player strategy stuff here, and you can kind of see, if you want, you can adjust the when you drop a player into the strategy here, you can adjust the team settings, or you can override the team settings if you want to change it specifically for a player. A nice thing is you can force a role. So if you want to force a guy to, force him to just be a reliever or just be the starting pitcher or whatever. Also for minor league guys, you can lock them to their team and then prevent the AI from moving them up or down if you have a reason for that. And there was something else I wanted to kind of take a look at that we haven't really shown a lot. But this is a really cool feature here, this find a player. So for you guys who want to make a trade and you want to look for a specific kind of player, you can do that. As you can see, you can set it by a certain age. 16 is pretty young. 44. So I guess I don't know if we're looking for anyone who's 44 years old, but we can change that. We can service time. Guys are only free agents, only prospects. Obviously, you can apply this to pitcher or hitter. If the Phillies want to find another starting pitcher, which I don't know what they want to do at this point, but you can even look for specific ratings. Maybe a guy who's maybe got a lot of potential, which means the other team's going to want a lot for him. But you can kind of set a lot of these things, even popularity. You can set, lefties or righties, contract years left, salary. I mean, there's a lot you can do here. This is a pretty robust setup. You can search by certain ratings as well. So this is and then stats, this season or last season. So this is a pretty robust way to kind of dig up some players if you want to look for someone specific to trade for. And see, I just did a search here, and so I'm going to pull up some guys here, so I can kind of scroll through here if I want to look for guys. Then if I want to initiate a trade, it's right here.